Hello, my name is Charles Webster Bear, and today is March 15th, 2021, and I am in Redmond, Oregon, USA, and my website is globalinternetgovernment.com. And today I'm going to talk about 7 different things. The first topic today is going to be depopulationism. Then I'm going to talk about GIG, which is global internet government. Then I'm going to talk about Fog Bank. Then I'm going to talk about the Capitol. Then I'm going to talk about me. Then I'm going to talk about the universe. Then I'm going to talk about my paintings. So let's begin, shall we, with item number 1, depopulationism. I am a depopulationist. I have been a depopulationist since 1985. Depopulationism is an idea created by China in the 1980s, otherwise known as the one woman, one child policy. Depopulationists like myself feel that it is illegal and immoral for anybody on Earth in this century to reproduce a second time. Depopulationists want to create a significant and sustained and immediate decline in the human population on Earth. This will allow the number of people on Earth to arrive at a sustainable level. This is a number for future generations to determine, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's around 2 or 3 billion people. This will give the environment an opportunity to heal itself, and this will give trees an opportunity to grow back. And then in the future, when people want to breathe oxygen, they'll be able to do that because there'll be enough trees to create enough oxygen for people to breathe, and we won't all suffocate to death. And that's a good thing. So that's depopulationism. It's actually very simple. If you are asking yourself whether or not you want to reproduce or not, you should ask yourself, are there enough people on the planet? And if your opinion is yes, there's enough people on the planet, then you don't need to make any more people. In my opinion, there's enough people on the planet and you don't need to make any more people. In my opinion, there's too many people on the planet and you really, really, really shouldn't make any more people. Okay? The amount of humans on Earth is increasing. That's the wrong direction, in my opinion. I think it should be decreasing. I think we're on a suicide course right now. I think that if we kill the planet, we're going to die with it. And I think that's a bad idea. And I think we should play it safe and step away from the cliff. So that's what I think. And that's depopulationism. I think depopulationism is the new religion of this millennium. I think depopulationism is the latest evolution in civilization. I think depopulationism is the only rational, logical, and fair way to save the planet. I think that as humans evolve and improve and get better and more enlightened, they become depopulationists. I think as nations improve and get better and evolve, they become depopulationist nations. It's the latest evolution in civilization is depopulationism. It's how we're going to save the planet Earth from ourselves. It's how we're going to survive. It's depopulationism. And I've been talking about depopulationism for 37 years. So I've gotten pretty good at it. And I enjoy talking about it. And I'll continue to talk about it. And so that's depopulationism. And that's topic number one. Topic number two is GIG, Global Internet Government. Now, GIG is a world government I created in the year 2000 in Portland, Oregon. So depopulationism is the goal, and GIG is how the plan on how to achieve that goal. Depopulationism is the destination we need to arrive at, and GIG is the road we need to drive down to get to that destination. So depopulationism is what we need to do, and GIG is how to do it. And so I created GIG in the spring of 2000 in Portland, Oregon, to move my depopulationism agenda forward. So GIG is going to unite the world politically and economically. GIG's going to unite the world politically with freedom and democracy and reproductive rights. And reproductive rights means that all people have the right to total and free access to all forms of birth control, including abortion. Any government that does not completely support this is an illegitimate government and will be replaced quickly and peacefully. So GIG's going to unite the world politically with freedom and democracy and reproductive rights. GIG's going to unite the world economically with transparency and balanced budget amendments and regional currencies and trade agreements. And GIG's going to monitor every financial transaction by every government on planet Earth. GIG's going to monitor every financial transaction by every government on planet Earth. And that way everybody can see immediately where all the money is, where it's going, who's got it, who they got it from, how much they got, what they're doing with it, etc. So GIG's going to make every government on planet Earth completely financially transparent. And that's how GIG's going to unite the world economically. And so that's global internet government. And, I got the idea for depopulationism from the Chinese, and I improved it and made it available to everybody. And I got the idea for GIG from the European Union, and I improved it, and made it available to everybody. The European Union is a world government that's increasing in size. And I thought, well, let's just make a world government that's increasing in size for the whole planet. And so I came up with GIG. So any government that wants to be part of GIG will just hold an election. And if the majority of the voters want to be part of GIG, then they're in, if they agree to the terms. And if they want to leave gig, then they can hold another election. And if the majority of voters want to leave gig, then they're out. But so any country can come into gig if the majority of voters vote to enter gig, but they have to agree to the terms. And the terms are number one, depopulationism. Any country that wants to enter gig first has to make it part of their constitution that it's illegal for anybody in that country to reproduce a second time. And then number two, it has to be part of your constitution that your inflation can never go over 2% annually. And number three, it has to be in your constitution that there's total freedom of speech for everybody, online and offline. Everybody has total freedom of speech, including the press, 100%. So there's a lot of things you have to do to be to get into gig. You have to agree to a lot of different terms, but those are the top three. And number one is the big one, depopulationism. So if you're not a depopulationist, you should consider becoming one. And if you are a depopulationist, you should consider getting loud about it. And gig is how we're going to make this movement worldwide and successful. And so that's how to save the planet, is with depopulationism and gig. So let's go to topic number three. Topic one was depopulationism, which is really the only relevant issue for this millennium. All the other issues are not relevant. There's only one relevant issue, and that's depopulationism. That's saving the planet. Everything else is just minor details. So topic one was depopulationism, what we have to do as a species now. Topic two was gig, global internet government, how we're going to do it, how we're going to achieve depopulationism, is we're going to unite the planet with the world government, gig. And then topic number three is fog bank. Fog bank is my cyber currency that I created in 2019. And Fog Bank has a unit of currency called the Fog Buck, FOGBUK, plural Fog Bucks, FOGBUX. And anybody anywhere can buy as many Fog Bucks as they want for 1 penny each. So anybody can buy as many Fog Bucks as they want for 1 penny each. And the Fog Buck is the unit of currency for Fog Bank. Now, what's the value of a Fog Buck? Well, it's zero. And it's not going to go down because it can't go down. You can't have less of a value than zero. But hopefully at some point the value of a Fog Buck will go up from zero. And if it does, that's good. But that's the nature of currency, to fluctuate up and down. And hopefully the value of a Fog Buck will go up from zero to something, and then it will fluctuate up and down as high as it goes, maybe back down to zero, whatever. But that's how currency works. It fluctuates, especially cyber currency. So that's the Fog Buck. There's also the Fog Bick, FOGBIK. The FOGBIC, the value, and for plural it's FOGBIX, FOGBIC. But the value of a FOGBIC is identical to the value of a FOGBUC. The value of a FOGBIC and a FOGBUC is always the same. It's always identical. A FOGBUC always equals a FOGBIC in value. However, FOGBank reserves the right to suspend and or terminate any FOGBIC at any time for any reason, including no reason at all. So a FOGBUC is something that you purchase from FOGBank and you've got it until you spend it. A FOGBIC is something that FOGBank gives to you and you've got it for until you spend it or until FOGBank takes it back away from you. And so that's FOGBUCs, that's FOGBICs. There's every FOGBUC has a unique individual FOGBUC identification number. Every FOGBIC has an individual unique FOGBIC identification number. Every FOGBank user has a unique individual FOGBank user number. And every FOGBank transaction has a unique individual FOGBank transaction number. So FOGBank is completely 100% transparent. Everybody everywhere can see where all the money is at any time and its entire history. Everybody everywhere can go to FOGBank whenever they want and see where all the units of currency are and their entire history. When they were created, who got them, what they did with them, how they got to where they are now, etc. So FOGBank's 100% transparent, completely transparent. And even the FOGBICs that get terminated are still going to be there in the FOGBIC graveyard, so you can go see who had them and what they did with them and when they got terminated and why they got terminated. If there's a reason why they got terminated. Also, right now with money, you can have as much as you can get, or you can be broke or in debt. With a FOGBank, there's going to be a limit to how much you can have. You can't have more than $1 trillion American dollars worth of FOGBucks. If you have $1 trillion American dollars worth of FOGBucks and you want more FOGBucks, you can't buy FOGBucks because you have too much FOGBucks. That's the ceiling. There's also a floor. If you have less than 10 FOGBics, you'll be given an extra 10 FOGBics every week that you have under 10 FOGBics. So now there's this infinite gap between, people who have money and people who don't. But FOGBank's going to reduce that gap and have a ceiling and a floor and make it a finite gap. And FOGBank's going to lower that ceiling and increase that floor over time and decrease the gap slowly as circumstances warrant. So FOGBank is the future of money, and FOGBank is a cyber currency, and FOGBank eventually will become the cyber currency. And then FOGBank will become the currency. And then FOGBank will become the only currency. So FOGBank is basically going to take over all the money on the planet because FOGBank's the only one that does money right. Transparent, ceiling, floor, gap, shrink gap. So FOGBank will eventually become the only currency on Earth because Fogbank's the only currency that's doing currency correctly. Fogbank's the latest evolution in the improvement of currency. Just like depopulationism is as good as it gets now for the individual human being and for the nation. And just like global internet government is as good as it gets now for the nation, so too is Fogbank as good as it gets now for currency. So that's Fogbank. So now let's talk about the capital. The capital is something that I just invented a couple months ago, and I'm really excited about it. I mean, it's really cool. Now, Gig and Fogbank are two totally independent, separate companies. I'm the owner and founder and president of Gig. And I'm the owner and founder and president of Fogbank. But I own in both of these companies 100%, and they're totally separate. They're two separate individual companies that are not related to each other at all. And I own 100% of both of them forever. But I'm not going to be around forever. So when I'm gone, these two companies are going to merge into one company and stop being a company and start being an international nonprofit. And that's the capital. And I'm creating the capital now. And it's going to look a lot like the United States of America House of Representatives. And these representatives will be advisors advising me until 2050. And in the year 2050, Gig and Fogbank will stop being independent, private companies, and they'll merge into one company. And it'll be called the Capital. And it won't be a company. It'll be an international nonprofit, and it'll be run by the representatives of the capital, which is a democratic body modeled over the United States House of Representatives Capitol. And every nation will get one representative at the Capitol. And every nation will get one representative for every 10 million citizens. And these representatives will be elected by their fellow countrymen online. And before 2050, they'll be advisors to me, giving me their opinions on how things should go. After 2050, they'll be running the show. It'll be the law. The majority it'll be majority rule. The capital will be a body, a democratic body that'll vote on the course of the capital. And that's that. That's the capital. So before 2050, I'm running Gig separately, and I'm running and owning Gig and Fogbank as separate bodies before 2050. After 2050, and the capital is these elected representatives who are advisors. And they get elected at every 5 years. Every 5 years, starting in 2025, is the elections for the capital representatives. And every nation elects as many representatives as they have. Every nation gets one representative, and if they've got 40 million people, they have 4 representatives. If they got 100 million people, they got 10 representatives. They get a representative for every 10 million people. And before 2050, those representatives are advisors to me, and they give me their opinions, and I say, thank you very much. Have a nice day. After 2050, they're running the show. The capital runs the show. It's a democratic body, majority rule, and the representatives are no longer advisors. They're actual representatives in the capital. And Fog Bank and Gig will merge into the capital. And the capital will be the world government and the world financial, economy. It'll be everything. The capital will be everything. It'll be running the politics. They'll be running the law. They'll be running the money. It'll be the whole frickin' deal. It'll be totally transparent, totally democratic, and it'll be totally depopulationist. It'll be depopulationism, and it'll be all the money. So that's the capital. So I want this video to go an hour, but I don't think it's going to go an hour. I just made a Facebook video that's an hour, so that was great. So now I tried to make a YouTube video that's an hour, but I don't think it's going to happen, but that's okay. I'll eventually make a YouTube video that's an hour. Maybe this one will go for an hour, but I doubt it. But anyway, whatever. It'll happen eventually, if not today. So we talked about topic number 1, depopulationism, which is the only relevant issue facing human beings in this millennium. Everything else is just stupid crap. And it's time for Americans to lead the world. It's time for Americans, and especially Oregonians, to save the planet and lead the world by example. So it's time for us to stand up and get this thing going. So we talked about topic number 1, depopulationism. We talked about topic number 2, gig. We talked about topic number 3, Fog Bank. We talked about topic number 4, the capital. Now we're talking about topic number 5, me. Who am I? I'm Charles Webster Bear. I'm 52. I'm Buddhist. I'm atheist. I'm agnostic. I'm libertarian. I don't have any kids. I've never been married. I'm heterosexual. I'm single. I was born and raised in Santa Cruz, California. Went to high school in Newport, Rhode Island. In 1994, I graduated from the University of Hawaii at Hilo on the Big Island of Hawaii. And then I moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And in 1999, I moved to Portland, Oregon. And in 2000, I created Global Internet Government. In 2007, I moved to Bend, Oregon. In 2014, I moved to China for 3 years. In 2019, I created Fog Bank, and I moved to Redmond, Oregon. And in 2021, I created the capital. And next year, I'm running for mayor of Redmond, Oregon again. And in 24 and 28, I'm running for president of the United States of America. Again, number one is a depopulationist. Number two is a libertarian. A libertarian is somebody who believes in more freedom and less government. If it has to do with money, I'm a conservative. If it doesn't have to do with money, I'm a liberal. So I'm a libertarian. I'm a depopulationist. I'm for legalization of all drugs. I'm for legalization of suicide. I'm for death penalty, Texas style. I'm for isolationism, which means that America will help out the world, but only if the UN approves it and gets countries within the region to contribute to the military and financial solution. I'm for negative immigration, which means I think the people leaving the country should be greater than the number of people entering the country. And I'm for less government, which means I'll veto any budget that's bigger than the last one. Every budget has to be less than the last one, or I'll veto it. That's less government. So please vote for me for mayor of Redmond, Oregon, USA, next year, 2022. And please vote for me, Charles Webster Bear, for President of the United States of America in 2024 and 2028. Thank you very much. And that's me. That's me. That's who I am. So that's topic number 5. Topic number 6 is the universe. We'll talk about that. And then topic number 7 is I want to show you my art. We probably won't get to 60 minutes, but that's okay. We'll get there eventually. Okay, let's talk about the universe. So, the universe, we're going to talk about the known physical universe. And I think it deserves a name. And I haven't been able to think of a good name for the universe, but I'm still working on it. But you can help me out and come up with a good name and put it in the comments section. But we're going to talk about this universe, this known physical universe. We're not going to talk about the pre-universe or the post-universe or the non-universe or the anti-universe or the parallel universe or the universes that are in different dimensions. So the universe wasn't created. The universe has always been around. And humans can't understand infinity because we think in linear straight lines. And that's not how space and time is. It's curved by gravity. So we can't understand infinity. But the universe has been around for infinity, it hasn't been created. It's always been there. And 16 billion years ago, in what I like to refer to as infinite space negative and infinite time negative, the universe was a very small plasma of dark energy. And it expanded and evolved and cooled into a plasma of dark energy and dark matter. And at this point in time, it became large enough for computers to comprehend. And then it continued to expand and evolve and cool. And eventually it became a energy plasma of quantum particles, and it became large enough for humans to comprehend. And this is what we call the Big Bang and the creation of time, space, gravity. And this energy plasma continued to cool and expand in the form of a plasma of subatomic particles, which became atomic particles, which became hydrogen, which became hydrogen clouds, which became stars, which made the other elements. and gravity acted on these stars to form galaxies. And then the universe was expanding galaxies. And that's what the universe is today. And that expansion is actually increasing in speed. And then 5 billion years ago, um, the sun was created, and the leftovers were the planets. And they orbited the sun, and the earth was created, and it was a blob of lava, and it cooled. and gas escaped and formed the ocean. And then 4 billion years ago, due to random chemical reactions, life was created. Bacteria reproduced and mutated into algae, which reproduced and created the atmosphere and evolved into land plants and fish, which evolved into reptiles and mammals, and which evolved into monkeys and apes, which evolved into humans, and we evolved into computers, and computers will eventually evolve into artificial intelligence, which will eventually evolve into advanced forms of silicon-based life, which will evolve into robots that will go on to colonize the universe. And that's the history of the universe. So let's back it up 3 million years. And now we're in South Africa, and us, Homo sapiens, have just evolved from Homo erectus. And we blast through the jungle of Africa, which takes a long time. Snakes, alligators. What's that? Anyway, we make it. And 200,000 years ago, we blast out of Egypt, and now we're out of Africa. So now we're everywhere. And 20,000 years ago, we create cultures, societies, civilization, domesticate animals, domesticate plants, agriculture, farming, language, traditions, customs. And then 2,500 years ago, we form advanced societies. One occurs in Greece. And they formed the foundation for Western government, which still exists today. Democracy, science, philosophy, astronomy, uh, theater, money, all of that, Greeks. And then the Italians borrow that and take it up to Europe, and we have the Dark Ages and the Renaissance and the Industrial Revolution. And 2,500 years ago, at the same time the Greeks are inventing all this stuff, in India, we got a guy named Buddha who says, well, if the universe exists, that's great. But if it's an illusion, then I'm the soul. So Buddha creates spirituality. And that information travels east to China, where they are sophisticated and civilized and intelligent enough to understand it, and they create Buddhism. That information travels west to the Middle East, where they just aren't quite there yet. And they misinterpret it not once, but twice. The first time is called Christianity, the second time is called Islam. And basically, it's like this: the universe exists or it doesn't. It's one or the other. It can't be both. If the universe exists, great, have a good time. If the universe doesn't exist, you're the soul. Enjoy. So it's one or the other. So religion gets it wrong. It says it's both when it's not. So that's that. Anyway, so then we have the Industrial Revolution, and then we have America with freedom and equality and democracy. And then we have a couple wars, and then we have the 60s where people are like, oh, let's not kill Earth. And we have the environmental movement. And then we've got the 80s where China actually does depopulationism. And for the first time ever, humans, the Chinese, actually do something to help the environment. That's the first and only time anybody's ever done anything to help the environment, is the Chinese creating depopulationism. Okay. The Chinese creating Buddhism was the first time humans were able to understand the overall big picture. And the Chinese creating depopulationism in the 1980s was the first time humans ever actually successfully accomplished an environmentally good movement. They did something beneficial for the environment. They did something to help the environment. They did something to save the environment. The Chinese creating depopulationism in the 1980s was the first and only time humans have ever, ever, ever done anything that was for the environment, that was good for the environment. And in the 1990s, what we should have done, the rest of the world should have said, oh, yeah, okay, great, we'll get on this. But we didn't, because we're stupid and we're greedy and we're evil and we're crazy and we suck. So the Chinese led the way in the 1980s with depopulationism, and the rest of us should have gotten on board in the 1990s. But we didn't, because we just are just terrible, terrible, terrible people. Terrible. I mean, we're bad. We're the bad guys. We're the enemy. We should have turned it around in the 90s. We should have turned around in the first decade of this millennium, but we didn't, because we're shit, basically, is what I'm saying. So now everything's all completely fucked up. Maybe fucked up past the point of no return. But anyway, personally, individually, I'm going to keep trying to save the planet, because that's what I do. And hopefully there's somebody else out there besides the Chinese. They're going to help me out with this. But anyway, so that's the history of the universe. And so I'm going to show you my art now. And then I'm going to try to, I'm going to try to make it to 60 minutes, but I probably won't. But we'll probably give it a half-ass shot. Excuse me. Okay, let's talk about my art. This is painting number 1, and it is a surfer who's surfing. This is for sale, by the way, at a very reasonable price. You can call me up and we can talk about it. 541-797-3236. This is painting number 2. It's New Mexico. You can see the red is a face. Okay. This is painting number 3. This is the Big Island of Hawaii, which is shaped like the head of a bear. And next to it is a hurricane. And then in outer space, what looks like a hurricane is actually a galaxy. And that's the sun. And this is painting number 4, which is basically a blue head. But actually, in reality, I haven't finished this painting yet. When I finish it, I'm going to put Oregon right here. And I'm going to put Hawaii right here. And I'm going to put Japan right here. And I'm going to put Antarctica down here. Because this head is actually the Pacific Ocean. Okay, this is global internet government. This is the logo for global internet government. It's a GIG. The I is internet. And then global internet government. The I is green. The green I is internet. And then it's G, global, I, internet, government, G. So GIG. That's the logo for GIG. This is the logo for FogBank. The red is F and the blue is B, FogBank. That's the logo for FogBank. And this is the logo for depopulationism. DP. Depopulationism. DP. DP. Depopulation. That's the logo for depopulation. Okay, that's my art. Well, hope you like it. I do. Need to work on a logo for the Capitol. Got plenty of time to do that. Okay. So let's see. Okay, I got 15 minutes. I'm not going to sit here and babble for 15 minutes. Or am I? I don't think so. I mean, I could. But I'll make an hour-long YouTube video later. This is good enough for today. Okay, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Peace and love.